Early childhood mental health is described as a young child's ability to experience, regulate and express their emotions, form close and secure relationships, explore their environment and learn. They do this in the context of their family, community and cultural experiences. Children who have difficulty managing their emotions, exploring their surroundings and building positive relationships are more likely to experience greater challenges throughout their lives that may persist well into adulthood.
Early childhood mental health it's almost surprisingly important in the early years because it's a foundation for so much of what constitutes emotional health and social well-being thereafter. It's a really critical developmental period. So they're moving from the world of their very intimate social relationships within their families to a much wider world, and that's where it all starts.
The early years set children up for the rest of their life, and there are very key experiences that children need to have early on in order for the right connections, if you like, to develop, which lay the foundation for later functioning throughout childhood and into adulthood. And so the brain grows incredibly rapidly in the first few years and it's quite extraordinary how much is going on in the brain in the early years.
So how do you know when children, their families and early childhood educators are experiencing good mental health? I think it's a question often about participation. So when children are doing well in terms of their mental health, they're really engaged in the environment that they're learning. So they start the day and you notice that the child has actually got energy. They're connecting. They connect with other kids, they connect with teachers or the educators that they're interacting with. So, and then you also notice that through the day they manage the ups and downs of things. The early childhood years and having good mental health, it's a time when so many of the foundations of a child's life are being set down. So you want a child's early experiences socially, for example, to be ones where they can start to form friendships. They can work out how to resolve the challenges of sharing, of sharing friendships, of working together. Those early experiences are foundations for children being able to go on and make and form good friendships as they get older. They're learning about all the strong emotions they have within themselves, all the different emotions they have in themselves, the changing emotions they have within themselves. So they're starting to make connections between their feeling inside and the language they can use to describe that. And that process is a really critical process because it helps a child to understand in their mind and their brain what's happening inside in their emotional world. But those early experiences really lay foundations for a child's expectations about what life will be like and really start to foster their way of relating to people so that they actually They trust that teachers will look out for them and care for them and nurture their needs and show them the joys of the things happening around them. And I think those early years, those foundations are just really, really key for setting them up for what will happen in the next few steps.
If we've got a good, safe, secure environment that provides challenge and interest to a child, we can see good mental health in the child by seeing that they are open to new things without becoming too overwhelmed, that they can calm down with some help. A 6-month-old baby needs a lot more help than an 18-month-old. They can use the supportive relationships to help them calm down without becoming overwhelmed.
So what that means is that anything we do in the early years that actually promotes any of the different facets of children's development is going to have lifelong implications for their positive development and growth, but also the absence of intervention is where you often see the foundations for problems, and the absence of intervention means that you're missing some fantastic opportunities. And when I talk with families, I always talk about the idea that if you get involved early, it's a time when you can quite easily shift children offer a pathway where they maybe were heading down the pathway towards some mental health difficulties. But it's a time when a little bit of change, a little bit of tweaking in the way parents and carers and early childhood educators are working and interacting with a child can lead to some really quite different ways that the child might react and respond.
When early childhood educators are mindful of children's mental health, then the decisions that they make every day, which are numerous, start to be informed by that knowledge. So they start to be able to make a decision around routines and arrivals and group times and experiences inside and outside that have, if you like, a flavour of supporting children's mental health. Those decisions start to be shaped by our mindfulness of the way that children experience them through their emotions and their social interconnections. And in all of those decisions, elements of belonging start to be manifest. And that means that it becomes very real for children, and it becomes something that they embed into their daily practice and their daily encounter of the life that they're leading.
It's important for all educators in a service to understand what mental health is about, what it means, how it relates to children's well-being in general. I think in the service philosophy statement, I think it goes back to that, if you take your philosophy statement really seriously, that it needs to be absolutely front and centre, that the main concern of the service, no matter where it is, what type of service it is children's mental health or children's well-being.